hanging out here with the brother Obasi. This is for the Baltimore Jazz Alliance. Yep, so we just hanging out rapping the taste. So Obasi, I'm privileged to say at this point that I'm able to call him not just musician affiliate, but friend.
Absolutely.
Would you say so yourself?
Yeah. Cisco kid.
Cisco kid. Yeah, so this is really cool. So the cool thing about this conversation, so I always enjoy just having conversation with people, because what I always say is like, when you have people that you link up with in life, and especially when it comes to music, and if you're speaking the same music and playing the same music, chances are your stories somehow like align, and like experiences that you had that brought you to that point. I always say serendipity plus intention equals life. So for me, I kind of know some of those things already from our conversations, but I'm excited about this convo because I get to learn more and get to have more of those, like, now it makes sense why we landed on that G together.
Right.
Exactly. Those kind of things. So
the planet's rotating.
There it is.
Well, it's not really actually rotating.
The
planet it's an illusion. We're not rotating.
Speak about it, right?
We're hurtling.
Right.
We're falling into a gravitational field. And there's a lot of objects pulling on us, and it makes us feel like we're rotating.
You're rotating, right. Are you a fan of Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like that's my kind of talk there. And Neil stuff takes me back to when we thought the sun was going around us, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't occur to me for a minute when I was coming up. I'm glad nobody was trying to tell me that. So.
You'd call bullshit.
I was like, no, there's no way. That's not coming around now.
Right. You might not have been here today, so we could have this conversation. Like, what is he talking about? Yeah, man. So let's take it from the top, man. I don't think I've ever asked you this before, but where are you from?
Well, it's odd, my whole life I've been sort of an interloper because I was born in Maumee, Ohio.
Maumee?
Yeah.
I never heard of Maumee before.
It's a little hamlet outside of Toledo on Lake Erie. And 2 months later, I moved to St. Louis.
Okay.
And so I came up in St. Louis, but when I was 19, I joined the Army, then became a paratrooper, and ultimately settled in North Carolina. And then came back to St. Louis. And that's when I decided, you know what, I'm gonna try music, because I think if I had the education I have now, I might not have tried music, because now I know how it works, and I know that I lacked all of the basics to get into music, and I knew it was gonna be a rough ride, but I thought I could, I'm intrepid, right?
Yeah.
So I was just going like, I can do this.
Yes.
So, and then I got into music, and then by the time I was in my mid-30s, I moved on to New York.
Yeah.
And I lived there. So I was always like from someplace else, wherever I was. And like right now, I'm from someplace else.
Right.
I live here.
Right. A nomad life.
Yeah.
So it's funny. I've located one of those bing points already.
Yeah.
So 19. That's when you started taking music seriously at 19?
No, I started actually trying to do music.
Trying it at 19?
When I was 21.
Okay. Well, you mentioned 19. What was
19, I joined the Army.
Got it.
And I was a mechanic, and then I became a boxer.
Ooh.
And then I became a born again preacher.
What?
Yeah, and I preached for a while. Then after a while, I realized, nah, this is a cult. It's a cult.
Right.
I can't be in no
If
cult.
I had some different motives, maybe.
So then I got out. Then I thought, well, what can I take from all that? And then find a humbling life, you know.
Yeah.
And that helped me feel spiritual. And you know, it occurred to me that
That's wild.
that we Americans have more in common.
Yeah.
Okay, so it occurred to me that the thing that a lot of Americans don't see is that we have more in common with each other than our European and African and Asian counterparts.
Right.
And it's because of the music, and it's because the music is Africanized. So it occurred to me that that's a ministry. So I jumped in that.
That's wild. That's wild. So I'm seeing correlations already, right? So 19 is when you joined the Army, and
Well, that was because I was a high school dropout.
gotcha.
And so that was the earliest I could join because I was homeless almost. You know, I was living in the streets. You know, I needed some food.
Yeah.
It's like you join the Army, you got 3 squares and a pickle suit, right? So
Right.
You're good to go.
So it's crazy. You just another correlation. So at 19, I was getting ready to join the Army. I was gonna go into the National Guard because my mom and my dad couldn't really support me financially to go, you know, to college, get the education, that kind of thing.
Yeah, my parents didn't do that either.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, I wound up getting a master's degree.
Right.
You know, but that was later, you know, after life kept hitting me, and that was one of the things that was on my conveyor belt, you know.
I got you. Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting how you did that at 19. 19, I'm going to the Army experience, didn't go, but I wound up, that was at the same time or shortly after that, in that window between 19 and then hitting 21 is when I started taking music seriously at another level as well. And then I started putting like 30 hours a week into it. So I was an intrepid as well. I was determined.
I wouldn't do anything like that.
I feel you.
You know,
But you was living, though.
I went to when I got out of the Army, I was like, I took a military approach. I was like,
Yeah.
well, in order to learn how to speak Russian, you got to move to Russia.
Right.
And so the closest thing I could do to that, you know, because
Right.
music, you know, my metaphor for Russia. I went to work as a stock boy at a music store, and I figured if I'm in a music store, musicians are going to show up. So I was just
Right.
like I was setting up a kill box.
Where was this again?
In St. Louis.
In St. Louis when
Yeah.
you did that. Oh, that was
So,
that
like-
was smart.
So you know, you know, I was trapping musicians, right? So like I work in the back on the weekends. They put everybody out on the floor because
Right.
the place fills up, right?
Right.
And the Ike and Tina Turner musicians were there. The you know the ex Ike and you know, and the Ray Charles musicians were there. You know, because they come there and then they get in a fight or something. They drink too much, get fired, right? They wind up, you know, in St. Louis, Memphis, and places like that. And then they work in factories, and on the weekends they come and check out instruments, and they try to have bands, you know, and play in the clubs, you know, the blues clubs. And I was like, okay, I want to play guitar. So, you know, I came out, and when they try to show people guitars, and then they show me, and then I watch, you know.
Okay.
And one guy took the 2 strings off of a guitar, you know, the 2 low strings, and showed me bass line.
Wow.
And you know, and what he really was looking for was somebody who wasn't a drunk that had a car that could pick everybody up. So, you know, I got my first gig.
The bonus was
working. Well, I mean,
I'm just
they were planning on turning my shit off. So,
Oh my God.
so you know, and you know, I knew it too because I was like,
got you.
this is the tuition, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I got to endure to be.
gotta make it.
I got into it to be humble, right? So that was the
yeah.
first humbling
Right.
experience, right?
It's interesting how much you like. I would imagine that you learn from those experiences.
I
that
learned a
make
ton, man.
you
I mean,
who you are today.
I had to pick up all these drunks, you know,
Right.
and then we all went to Tubby's Red Room over in East St. Louis. And it was actually in Arlington. It was just outside of East St. Louis. So
Okay.
like these are nightclubs with dirt floors and a rag for a door. You know, so and the stage, you know, you'd be on the stage and there's a door. This down at the end of the bar,
Right.
And there's a bar, door at the end of the bar. There's a door right by the stage,
Gotcha.
right. And the parking lot's a dirt lot, right.
Wow.
And so, if a fight broke out in the parking lot, it would come through that door, come toward the stage, and go back out that door. Wow. And it would just circle.
Wow.
And we would just try to duck shit.
And the beat goes on.
I played chicken wire clubs too, where you go in and it's a biker club, and the band is encaged in a chicken wire. Wow. And they could just throw bottles at you as hard as they could. And they, while you play.
Man. So, I've never experienced anything like this.
Well, this is how my gig works. So I get there, we play. Mm-hmm. And one of the first songs I learned was I'm Tore Up, Drunk as I Can Be. It's a blues and E. It's an Ike Turner song.
Wow.
And the guy would turn at me and go, dun, 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 dun. And if I could hold that, I'd try to play that shit.
Right.
The drummer, a real shuffle. Not like what jazz musicians are doing.
Right.
Like a real shuffle.
Like a real shuffle, yeah.
The walls will go like this.
Yes, sir. Right.
Because he's...
Right. Digging that in.
Right, it's brown.
It's funny because I was saying earlier, like, one of my favorite things about you is your tone. Like, you just described it. Yeah. It's that, man. And I relate to that. That it's like...
It's earthy.
That's
it's dirt. It's dirt on your feet while you're playing.
Man.
So I would start playing, when you first start playing, you get excited and you rush.
Yeah.
So I started rushing.
Yeah.
So the drummer would reach over with his drumstick and turn my shit off. But then he had motion to me, keep playing.
Right,
so I'd be up there like pantomiming and shit. They laughing at me, but I'd play. And,
right. You learned the other side of music. Show me.
Right.
And you learned that silence was music too.
Right.
Like,
so
you know what I'm saying?
Then after a while, I got to where they wouldn't turn me off.
Wow.
I calmed the hell down because I was on the stage.
Yeah.
And then I got to where I was playing every song. And then I got to where other members had other blues bands that they wanted me to pick them up. So I was working. I was a mechanic, right? So I kept my car.
Yeah. So
I was under the hood all the time.
What I called everything, man.
Mm-hmm.
So this was what age now? Because I want to go back.
Now I'm 22, 23, 24.
Yeah. Getting that. So one thing about this that to me I think is what makes us, like, as they would say, soulful musicians is like having those kind of conditions. Mm-hmm. I like to say where you have enough adversity to give you a backbone, not enough to break it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so,
well, it take a lot to break my... Look here. What I've been through...
I get it.
Most people will be dead.
I see.
I know it.
Right.
Stuff came at me that was meant to kill.
I see. I see, yeah.
You're not going to kill me.
I feel you.
He'll kill you.
Before you, yeah.
And so my platoon sergeant used to tell us, we're not here to die for our country. We're here to get them to die for their country.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's what it is. So take me back to, like, before you hit this 19, going to the Army, 21, starting to be out there and playing and getting that experience. Did you grow up with, like, musical parents?
No.
Was that influence? Right.
My father told me to stay as far away from music as you possibly could.
Gotcha.
And when he saw that I wasn't listening to him, he stopped listening to me. And then we just couldn't live with him. He wouldn't, we had a fight when I was 16. Wow. And I accidentally pinned him down. And then, I didn't say the right thing, to him. And then that was it.
Yeah.
So
I feel you.
I was scared, man. Something came out and I was able to pin him.
I see.
Yeah. The same thing happened in the Army. That's why I became a boxer because, I'm really passive, but something happens, and I usually come out the floor with. I'm not even there.
Right.
The thing is mopping the floor.
Yeah. So I'm a Taurus, and if there's any truth to the astrology. I'm similar where I'm like, I'm friendly for
I'm close to that.
Then all of a sudden I see red, and then it's like, now I don't black out.
It's white. Red. It's a cartoon. The room turned into a cartoon.
Right.
And my first time boxing, when I was in the ring.
Right.
You know, it was a it was like a setup. You know, because you know, I was in the 82nd. I finally got to the 82nd Airborne Division, and I was they wanted it was racial, you know, and so a white guy was the division heavyweight champ. His name was Clink, and I went through jump training with him, and we were friends, right? But he was a bouncer, and he was from Branson, Missouri. You know, he rode a Harley and all that. You know? And when I saw him at the gym, you know, as the bouncer, because they talked me into doing it. Right. You know, I'm like, they used to call me Scooby Doo, right? Because I was a big Great Dane looking, you know, you know, and I was like, oh man, my friend, you know, but he was, and I think he perceived that I was in there to rival him, so he was on to me, but I wasn't on to him. I see. And we got in the ring, and I thought, okay, this is where they teach us how to box, you know, all chippy, you know. Right. And he just went to my chin, bam, bam. He hit me like 8 times, each time concussion. And a little voice in my head said, "Oh shoot, you about to die." And then next thing you know, I was in my head, sitting in the corner, you know, watching another person of me.
I see.
You know, and I don't know what happened, but when you know, I kept swinging. I felt that part. Right. And then after a while, I wasn't hitting nothing. And then I came to. He was out. Right. He was like swastika on the ground. Then they made me the captain of the team. I was the captain of the team after that.
So it's interesting. I think about how all these things, like, to me, like when I listen to a person play, even if I don't know the events of their life, I could hear the events of their life, you know, through the way they play, and that's how I hear it with you. So no musical influence. Mine is really the same. I'm the first musician in my family.
It's two kind of musicians, man. It's the griots. Yeah. Like most of them, we play with griots. Right. But we are the non-griots.
Telling a different story out this
That's right.
You know, it's interesting though, because one of the things I find about that is that, like, when we're in our purest form, everybody's wanting to or either trying to tell that story. It's just that you're either courageous enough to do it or not, or like you know, there's some other stuff there, experiences, education, you know, these kind of things. I think we've learned like the greatest thing you could do is play from your heart, you know, bare your soul. So take, say after, you know, 1921, like where did your music formal education come into play? Like, how did it come into play? You know, where'd you...
When I was in those blues bands, there's always like a piano player that could play a jazz song. Okay. And he had classical, you know, and he could play jazz. And then, you know, jazz education was starting to really be a thing, you know. Okay. And that was in the early 80s. Okay. You know, Wynton Marsalis was hitting the scene. Right. And so there was a jazz program. And I wanted to play jazz, and I would try to talk to the piano player. Everybody's all close to the chest, you know, especially if you're not a kid. I was mid-20s. Right? I see. So nobody, you know, and so I decided to try to get into the Webster University's jazz program. Okay. But I didn't know how to really play, right? So I didn't want to audition because I would have to pay for all that. I see. You know, so but I was I could paint and draw, so I got in the art program. And then I spent all my time at the music program. And by the next year, I got a music scholarship. Wow. And that's how I got in.
I can imagine you were probably proud of yourself to really...
I wasn't even aware of myself. I was just moving on an instinct. You know? I see. Yeah. When I look back, I realized I wasn't aware of myself. Right. I was just moving toward music, right? Knocking things down and messing up stuff. You know.
Would you say in like many ways music has been your saving grace in life in different ways, or? You know, how would you...
I don't know if it's been my saving life. A mission isn't necessarily a saving grace unless it's been a mission. Mission, yeah. And it's been a mission because somewhere along the way I got the understanding that this is a spiritual journey. And and that getting a lot of money isn't necessarily the greatest thing you can do with this life, but getting a lot of evolution, getting a lot of surviving a lot of adversity can prepare you for a more spiritual reception,
Yeah.
And so and I also realized that to me, like when I first heard Hendrix, that's what it. And then I heard Wes Montgomery, and I realized that there's a world where all the people talk like that, and it's not this one. And I want to be ready for that world,
Wow.
And so that's why I went in, because I knew I wasn't gonna be like there was no music in my head except for the other people's music.
Yeah.
Like there was no music in my heart or in my head. I couldn't sing.
Okay.
I had no.
Yeah.
When I was a little baby, my mother used to let me play in the basement of her friend, and it was a dark basement with a piano, and the piano was all messed up and open,
Right.
and I would just play with that thing for hours in the dark. It didn't even occur to me that I was in the dark with mice and stuff, So I was the language of language of vibration.
A vibration. Me and so my buddy Blue, bass player and close friend of the last 25 years. I remember when we talked about like the benefit of exploring your instrument in the dark.
Yeah.
And just how you learn tone and vibration and yourself in a different way.
Yeah, I haven't tried that, even though I thought about that many times, but I haven't tried that because I wound up like in this situation. I'm too practical minded now.
I get it. Well,
but I think it's something to do. It's definitely it's a very vital thing to do. I just haven't done it.
I feel you. Well, would you say you've done the other, practice in the dark with closing your eyes, from
I always close my eyes when I play. I hate when I have to read.
Too. Yeah.
It's like I don't want to read.
So I'm with you on that. So like, so in the say the tail end of this education part, what schools did as you were talking about having a master's and the kind of things, if you just go through a list of like your the places you've gone and studied or taught even, and
well, I went to Webster University,
right,
and I was basically going through that school because I could get GI Bill money to live on.
Yeah. But
the classes, they Europeanized the jazz program so heavily that the classes are of no use to you.
I understand that. Yeah.
And the guys the teachers, usually white guys, they don't really want you to learn this, and compete with them. So they teach it to you in the most obtuse way.
I see.
And to make it seem like they're super intelligent and you're
right,
stupid,
and you're stupid.
And so and that was my experience in St. Louis, and then I went to I got a scholarship to go to CASA to play classical music, which was a conservatory in St. Louis. But I only went there for a year, and the school was falling apart.
Gotcha.
And then I just kind of got out in the field in St. Louis, and then I created a bunch of music business, and that ran me into Roy Hargrove, and I have a whole story there.
Ooh, please.
I don't know if you got time.
Yeah, we might not have time. Yeah,
and Lester Boyd and Lester, all that. But I had some experiences that would just tear the cap of your head off, But then after that, I matriculated and I got all these bands. I started playing with all these people.
Right.
And then I met Annalisa, and then we had a baby. So, it occurred to me that I needed to get a job. So
I see.
And I applied to teach in Canada, and I went there and I created the first and only Bachelor of Jazz Studies degree program in Canada's history that's still there.
Wow.
The people running it are my ex-students. And then I left there.
Where's that again? That's the one you were just talking about?
Yeah.
In Winnipeg, okay.
And then I left there, I retired. big fallout. I
Right.
retired, and then I came, and then but before I went there, I was playing with Elvin Jones.
Okay, that was
And
what
I
I
was
gonna
falling
ask
out with
next.
Elvin Jones,
Okay.
because I was fighting with his wife Keiko, because she basically I was too thin skinned to listen to her denigrate black men,
Gotcha.
and so I gave her pushback, which that put the writing on the wall for me. So I was in the band for 2 years, even though she was trying to get me out after the first 6 months,
Okay.
you know, but I was in there for 2 years, and then finally I saw the handwriting on the wall, so I decided, everybody coming through the band, like the band kept changing over except for me,
Okay.
right? And then so I finally I was trying to learn how everybody was knowing what to do so much,
Yeah.
and all of them had master's degrees, and I was like, well, I'm gonna try to do that. So
Okay.
I got as a matter of fact, Justin Chocho asked me to apply to Manhattan School of Music, and I did, and I got like a $52,000 scholarship.
Wow.
2 years in a row.
Wow.
I got the top scholarship, and then
Wow.
I got my master's degree there.
Wow.
And then from there, we were broke because
Yes.
Elvin
That's how it
had
is.
fired me by
That's
then.
how it is. Okay.
And then so I took that job in Winnipeg, and then we were in the money.
Okay.
And now I'm retired. You're looking at a retired professor.
Yeah. I love it. Look, even if I was like Stevie the other day, blind, right, every day, I would feel that, from your actual music, and the way you talk about it, and your experiences, that I'm learning about. Like, I'm one of those people that, like, because of the way my path came as far as education, like, I believe that, some of the greatest education you can get is outside of school. Like
Outside of school.
Yeah. It's a different school of
I
life.
cannot express to you enough the inner conflict that I felt the whole time I was teaching, because I was thinking, man, this paper, this degree that they're gonna get, I mean, it's cute and all, but
Right.
there's no place you can go where this is an exchange. You bring this to the bandstand, and they're gonna laugh at you.
Right.
You take it to a factory, and they say, "What's this for?"
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
this is a luxury degree. It's an anomaly. It's
Right.
like if you really want a degree, and Stevie Wonder don't have no master's degree.
Right.
Miles Davis don't have no master's degree.
Right.
Wayne Shorter don't have no master's degree. Sonny Rock, I can go. Art Blakey don't have no master's degree.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Wynton Marsalis didn't finish.
Yeah.
And he's got like 70 or 80 doctorates.
Yeah.
But he didn't go to school for that. They want him to speak at the commencement.
Right.
And so they give you an honorary doctorate so that you can be qualified to speak at the
Right.
And so he speaks at a lot of commencements. Maybe he's got 130 by now. Because in the 90s he had like 50 honorary doctorate degrees, but he didn't finish Juilliard.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So I was one of those people that at first I was going for a degree, and then at some point I was like, oh yeah, like I don't necessarily need it, and it would serve a different purpose if I wanted it, and really the truth of the matter is music is experienced, and so
Well, I mean, everything is experienced, but if you're getting a degree, that's a contractual qualification, right?
Yeah.
So, like in engineering, you don't know. You see a room full of engineers, and they're all Joe, except for this one is Joe from MIT,
Right.
and this one is Joe from Harvard.
Yeah.
Right, and so, and then okay, Harvard, MIT, all right, I'll take a chance on, and then throw the dice, right, like that,
I
or
feel you.
and then you get in there, and then engineering is a measurable field. Well, music is not a measurable field, right? It's not a quantitative,
Right.
Even if you know 3 million songs, you could still play like shit.
Right.
Or Stevie Wonder was an apostle, man. At 11, he was probably the best musician you had ever met.
Yeah. Wow, right.
So
interesting serendipity.
Yeah.
So, let's say I'll take this, and we'll wrap it up in a few moments, but I'll take it in a direction of saying, so I know you've played with a lot of people that are like the who's who of the day.
Yeah.
Let's throw out some names.
Okay. All right. I played with Abbey Lincoln. I played with Slide Hampton and the Jazz Masters. I played with Elvin Jones, the Jazz Machine. I played with James Carter. I played with Antonio Hart's band. I played with I toured with Joanne Brackeen and her trio for a long time.
Wow.
With El Negro in the group. I played with Regina Carter for a long time, off and on. I can't think of everybody.
Yeah, no, that's good.
And I played with Wallace Roney's band. That's where I met. Started hanging out with Annalisa. I was touring in Wallace Roney's band. Also, I was touring in Cyrus's band too.
Okay.
I can keep going. It's a lot of cats.
Right. That's
it's a lot of cats I played with. I played with
amazing.
Phil Woods.
Oh man. That's amazing. So I know all of these experiences, they all are special in their own way. Is there one for you that floats to the top as like, one of your fondest memories as far as traveling or playing, with a unit? It doesn't matter.
Well, I gotta say that all of them were fond memories, but the most indelible, influential, the one that actually let me touch what music was my experience with Elvin and my experience with Cyrus. Yeah, I toured with Cyrus, and I'm on two of his records. I toured with him for 4 years. Yeah.
How would you sum up? I know we could go in about it, but how would you sum up why?
Because the thing is that it sounds like rhetoric when you say the whole universe is in rhythm. The music is the proof of that.
Yes.
Yes. And the most important thing in the universe and in music is the continuum. And at any given moment, an infinite number of continuums are out there.
Right.
And in order to communicate universally, we realize the continuum with events called rhythms.
Rhythms, yeah.
Like the most important beat in a measure is beat 2. Because if you just play beat 1, then that's an infinite number of beats waiting for beat 2.
Okay.
If you play 1, 2, now you have a tempo, and you have a meter, right?
Yeah. 1,
2, 3, 4. Now you have a phrase,
yeah.
Right? And so, and like Cyrus taught me how to play like pocket, but Elvin taught me why to play pocket. Wow. And he taught me techniques of how to manipulate the pocket so that it works. He taught me about rhythmic netting. Yeah. He taught me about like wide beats as opposed to tight beats.
Right.
What a wide beat is, what a tight beat is. Most people don't know that. Yeah. Like even at high level people don't know what a wide beat is.
I would say like some of that stuff, like you can't know it unless you experience it. Yeah.
But the thing is that you can know it and you do experience it, but it's like
it's another level of knowing.
It's like if you don't have a confirmation that what you're imagining is true.
Or
then
real.
You just blow it off. Until somebody walks up to you and they got that same thing floating over their head. And oh shit. Then I must have been right all this time.
That's what it is.
But you need a confirmation, right?
I would say that's why we're a social species. That's why one of the things that's a part, So yeah, man. So here's another correlation where I can relate. So the way you are about rhythm is my same understanding, experience, and everything, and mine had heavy to do with hip hop.
Yeah,
and hip hop being my starting place as far as making music. It was like, it was all about the rhythm, to the point where I realized that you could say something rhythmically. That doesn't matter what the notes are. It's swinging because of that rhythm, and that's the most important thing. It's the thing that moves us, the thing we feel. So yeah, man. So I'm with you on that. So the last couple things I would ask you are, let's see, interested in a little bit about what you're doing here in Baltimore, with any project.
Okay.
One, I'm aware of the session that you have at Keystone, but doesn't have to be about that.
Well, the Keystone session is important, but it's not my main thrust. It's a thing that I do. It's a ministry.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't really need a jam session.
Right.
I know these tunes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and like the heavy hitters are not coming to the jam session to play with me, right? If they want to play with me, they call me on a gig. So it's usually like other cats that show up and they want their shot,
Yeah.
And I try to give them a shot.
Right.
I try to give them a clean shot.
Right.
Like clear all the bullshit off and let this guy get his 4 notes off.
Yeah.
I try to get it,
Yeah.
And sometimes the guy got a lot of notes, right? So then I try to like open it up so he can, empty the bucket,
Right.
Empty that bucket on the stage, right? So singers, I try to get them, give them a shot. But see, I think the thing that I do that it doesn't always happen is that I try to make room for everybody at every level, as opposed to like having it a cut off, like, oh, you only know 2 songs, well, you come back tomorrow. Or you're not really swinging, then you're gonna. But it's an interesting balance in that, because if you keep putting too many people that are not swinging, you're hurting the audience and you're hurting the other musicians.
Yeah.
So you can't do that.
Can't do that either. Yeah, bro.
It's balancing. You got
surfing.
But you got to see who feels like helping this guy.
Right.
Right. And then you got to see whether this guy can appreciate the help they're getting.
Right.
That's okay. Then you can let that happen.
Yeah.
But if it's like somebody who isn't even aware that how bad they are.
Right.
You got to put them way toward.
Yeah. And if you just so happen to get caught in that moment where you didn't know until the notes start playing, then
you just everybody got to buck up and
you know how to make up for it.
Yeah, make up for it. That's exactly right. I see you doing that too, though.
Yeah,
I see you do that a lot of times.
That's why I'm like, man, talk about being cut from the same cloth, even in different generations and different experiences. So yeah, that makes sense to me. One of the things I would say is that, like, I noticed this about yourself, about like Clarence and other people who have jams, like, and I share this same trait, like that fundamental trait of giving people a chance, giving everybody the opportunity. And it almost feels like when I think about our experiences in life, I think about the chin, you talking about getting hit in the chin and these things, like, and being in the St. Louis environment, like, I feel like when you come from those places, again, it gives you enough adversity to give you a backbone, and it also gives you like a big heart, like
You could. I don't think a place can give you a big heart. I think it gives a big heart a chance to realize itself.
Yeah.
But I think some people don't have a big heart, and they have to find it. They can find it.
Yes.
But they get put in a situation where enough stuff goes against them so they can find it. And what more often than not happens is that they collapse under the weight of the test, and they don't actually expand, and meet the challenge, and then grow a big heart.
I feel you.
But people like you get into the world and you find all these things to do and all these people to contact, and your thrust is to help people with the experiences, like you're having all these experiences that are significant to you, and you don't want to just keep them under a bushel. You're sharing them with people, and that's what I'm seeing. You know, I'm the same way.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always feel like if you're gonna have a shot as a human being, you gotta have a space, a place where you can feel seen, where you can feel safe, seen, and supported, so that can blossom.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I appreciate about what you're doing. All right, so.
Well, that's the only.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing a record, you know,
Yeah.
and it's been dragging out, but I'm gonna finish it up in the next month or so.
Okay.
I'm doing a record, and I've been booking bands at Tacoma Station.
Yeah.
And jobbing, mostly jobbing.
Right.
I hop up to Smalls every now and then and play. I'm gonna play there with Mark Whitfield coming up.
Okay. Is that something like?
And then there's a recording with Greg Murphy.
Okay.
You know, piano player.
Okay.
You know, and they're gonna play together, and then I'm gonna be on the recording. So, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
That,
So with that, the segue, is there anything you want people to know about that's coming up, like specifically for them to support or attend?
Well, I think the most important thing that people can do is come to your jam session, come to that Sunday jam session that's out there, and come to my jam session on Tuesday. If they come to those 3 jam sessions, you'll see how jazz is incubated. That's how it works.
Yeah.
You know, but it's more just as important as having an audience come to see this music.
Yeah.
The heavy hitters need to come.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Like they don't need to, like in the old days when I used to live in New York and I would go to Smalls or play the Vanguard or something like that. I'd be in the Vanguard playing and Ron Carter would be sitting in the back of the room watching me play. You know, or like if it was almost no time you could go to Smalls and Roy Hargrove wasn't going to show up.
Yeah.
If you wanted to catch up with him and he was in town, go to Smalls. He gonna ultimately show up and sit in.
Yeah.
Right? You know, and a lot of cats used to do that. And that's what made that rich. But nowadays, it's not, and I'm not denigrating the big guys because now things are so expensive and there's so many options. You know, rather than to spend money and go out in the street. Plus, we know about our health now, right? So you can't actually. Roy Hargrove died from abuse, right? He just did too much.
Right.
He was out too much, and so we don't want to lose Sean, right? So if he's tired, he needs to lay down. But if it's a night when he's not tired, he should show up in one of these jam sessions, and sometimes he does, So
that's what I say. For the time that I've been with the session, when I'm explaining it to people, I explain it in a couple ways. I'm like, one, I've never been to New Orleans, but it's what everybody who comes there, who's been there, they're like, this is what we experienced there, the culture and the richness of it. And then I also tell them, like, it's like if you were to walk into the 50s and see the Miles Davis and the Coltrane's and the Thelonious and all these people, like, just hanging out together, like, whatever that time period was, just hanging out together and making music, but being social and just, that's what it reminds me of, because we are them of this day.
Yeah.
So, all right, so I would say very last thing would be, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you as far as words of wisdom to a musician, whether it had to do with music or something as far as life that you felt was important?
I don't know. I'm not sure if I even understand the question.
I feel you.
Yeah, because go ahead.
So I guess it's like if it was one thing you could say that to someone. Yeah, that was like.
Okay. All right. Okay, everybody don't think I'm right, but I'm certain I'm right about this.
Okay, I love it. That's the way to start. My kind of man. Yes, because I be having those. I feel that way too about shit. Like
every single person is a musician, and every single person is an improvising musician.
Yes.
And every single person can do this, but every single person doesn't have the fortitude or the character to do this.
Right.
And fortitude and character are like muscle. You can build those.
Right.
You can build that thing.
Right.
But this is what I'm saying. Jazz music is the single most effective resistance against tribalism. And tribalism is the scourge of our humanity. Tribalism is going to destroy, quite literally, it's what's destroying the planet. It's what's keeping corporations just abusing. It's what's keeping white supremacy out there like that. Right. It's what's keeping all the tribalism, not just white tribalism, every bit of tribalism.
Right.
Is the scourge of our, because tribalism is an old instinct that was useful back when we were hunter-gatherers, but is no longer useful or even relevant anymore. You know, so and we are the top species on the planet. As smart as you want to tell me that the dolphins are and all this and all that, I don't see the dolphins hopping up on jet skis, you know, and you know, and you know what, we need more of whatever fell off that boat. So we're gonna figure out how to make a spaceship and go to DC. Dolphins are not adapting like that. We do that kind of stuff.
That's what
we figure out how to be up on Mount Everest.
Right.
Yeah. We don't need to be up there. We get up there. Right. But the real purpose, that's just evidence that we're for evolution. The real purpose of that ability is to evolve our species to a higher level. And that higher level is spiritualism. And spiritualism is thwarted by tribalism.
Yeah. I feel you.
And we need to eliminate tribalism, and the single greatest component against tribalism is jazz music. Because everybody has to contribute to that. As a matter of fact, when jazz music was invented, American blacks and American whites had more in common with themselves than their European and African counterparts, even though they didn't want to admit it. That's why all the world, when the Americans started going abroad, they were like, "That's an American," because the white men were walking a little more black, talking a little more black. You know, their music tastes were a little more black. The music coming out of there was a little more black, and the black musicians were a little more white. You know, they were a little more European, a little bit more this and that and the other. You know. So and then now that it's going all over the world, it's trying to take hold. But we keep struggling to stay in our tribe, you know. And like whenever we go to some place like Canada, you know, and you see they want to have only Canadian jazz, you know, and you can hear it.
Which a friend of
you
mine
can hear that.
hates,
You can when you go to an all Canadian jazz festival, you can hear that. You know, you don't want to hear that. You know, when you go to Europe, you see sometimes you have an all European, but mostly they just have jazz. And you can hear that.
You can hear it.
You can hear that,
you
right?
Can hear the difference.
You can hear the difference.
My friend Coco's, that came to the session, to your session. She's from Canada, and she can't stand it. She it is vanilla. It is so lame to me. You know, she longs for what we do. That's why the first day that she came here, she walked into JoJo's to feel good at JoJo's, and she was like, "I have found what I've been looking for." That was what I been hearing and feeling. So, I definitely feel you. I feel you in a lot of ways, honestly, because thinking outside the box, like to me, the best defense against tribalism, I feel like is a yin and yang kind of thing, and. It's why I'm grateful that my mom was a teacher and that her most important thing was giving me different exposure to different
Right.
things so that I wouldn't get caught into just one box, you know,
Yeah.
life. That's what tribalism is, essentially.
One thing that you have, your biggest asset is your youth. You have a lot of youth. Youth is wealth. Youth and health is wealth.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sir. Well, man, this has been great, bro.
All right.
Enjoyed this conversation. Learned a lot, and definitely looking forward to it again, bro.
Yeah. Well, we'll hook up more often. Try to.
Yeah, man.